Hi dear students, welcome to La Excellence IAS Academy. Today we're going to start with weekly current affairs analysis. In this video, we will be covering the most important articles that has come in The Hindu, PIB and Indian Express from the date 20th September to 26th September. Initially, we will try to cover the prelim tidbits or those aspects which is very important for the prelims. Then we will discuss the most important issues of economy, polity, science and technology and environment. Let us start the session with prelim tidbits. The first one is Kumhar Sashaktikaran Yojana. So remember, this Yojana was launched in the year 2018 with exclusive focus on the pottery sector. So we wanted to develop our pottery sector. That's why we've launched this program. Basically, the implementation responsibility has been given to Khadi Village Industries Commission. So moving further, what is the objective of launching this program? The first of all, we wanted to give training to the pottery sector. As you all know, in the pottery sector is the most deprived sector. They are not economically sustainable and they are not able to make their bare minimum livelihood also. In that regard, we are giving them a training to develop the advanced products which can match the requirements of current generation. Along with that, we want to support them with the latest technologies to ease the process. Moving further, by organizing melas, we are also promoting the exhibitions of those products. Then finally, we want to provide them a market linkage so that they can get right price to the products what they are producing. So this is all about Kumhar Sashaktikaran Yojana. The next one is Jnanpith Prashasti or Jnanpith Award. This is given annually by the Bharatiya Jnanpith organization. So this is given for English and other Indian languages. So this year, the 55th Jnanpith Award is being backed by a Malayalam poet, Akitam Achuthan. The next one is Shinkun La Tunnel. So remember, this is said to be the world's longest tunnel. Why it is said to be longest tunnel? Because it is spanning around 13.5 kilometers. It is said to be the highest altitude tunnel because it is built at the level of 16,703 feet. So remember, it's the world's longest and the high altitude tunnel that is being built by National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited. Moving further, this will be connecting Ladakh to Lalul Spiti in Himachal Pradesh. With this, we have a strategic advantage that Manali then Kargil highway will be open all throughout the year because of this particular tunnel. Moving further, the next one is Kritangya haekathon. So whenever it comes to hackathon, what comes in our mind is about something related to the cybersecurity. No. Kritangya haekathon is the first hackathon that is being conducted for the agriculture sector. So specifically, this is an agriculture technology hackathon which is conducted to improve or to bring in innovation in the farm mechanization. The government is progressively thinking of increasing the yield productivity so that farmers' income will be doubled by 2022. In that regard, farm mechanization will play a dominant role. So especially this hackathon session is focusing more on those equipments which can be handled by women, because as you are all well aware, in India there is feminization of agriculture wherein more and more women are participating in the agriculture. The next question which arises is, who is conducting this hackathon session? It's conducted by Indian Council of Agriculture Research along with National Agriculture Higher Education Project. The next one is Yuwaah Platform. This particular platform is built by Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. So this is initiative of UNICEF for every child and Generation Unlimited. As you know, in India, we have a very good demographic dividend. If we have to harness this demographic dividend, then the initiative of UNICEF, that is Generation Unlimited, is very, very important because it focuses on the three important E's for developing the demographic dividend. The first one is education, the second one is employment, the third one is entrepreneurial attitude. So we are trying to provide that kind of education with which you can match the requirements of 21st generation. Second thing is you are upgrading their skills so that they can be readily employable. Third thing, we don't want our youth to be just job seekers. We want our youth to be job providers. That's where we want them to be more and more entrepreneurs. So that's where this focuses on 3 E's. So this objective is realized in India with the Yuwaah Platform. Under this initiative, they will be given the career guidance sessions so that they can understand what is their potential and which particular sector is there should be their preferences. Second thing, the entrepreneurs who have been the top class of India today, they will come and take the entrepreneurship classes to them so that they can learn from the best. Moving further, we are also trying to create an economic opportunities for them for self-employment. Then we also want to upgrade them with respect to the skills of 21st century. It may be the digital skills or life skills or the self-learning skills. Next one is Abhyas Heat UAV. So this has been indigenously developed by ADE, that is Aeronautical Development Establishment of DRDO. So here, remember one very important thing. This is an unmanned aerial vehicle or a drone. It is a fully autonomous flight which can be used for navigation system. See here, what you have to remember is this can be used as a navigation system for various missiles. Speciality of Abhyas is this. It has high-speed expandable aerial target, or that is also called as HEAT. Moving further, the speciality of this is it has MEMS technology, that is micro electromechanical systems based navigation system. With this, what is the advantages? It has a very tiny integrated devices which will work with the concepts of mechanical and electrical components so that we can reduce the power, we can reduce the cost of it. It will be very lightweight and reliable as well. So this is all about Abhyas. The next one is Komodo Dragon. So remember, this is one of the largest and heaviest lizards on the earth. Why is it in news? It's because Australian government, as per the research, has said that this is going to be extinct. But however, as per the IUCN, it has vulnerable status. So where is the habitat of this? It's in Komodo National Park. This Komodo National Park is in Sunda Highlands. Sunda Highlands is in which country? It's in Indonesia. So moving further, why is this? There is an extinction of Komodo dragon. The first reason is because anthropogenic or man-made factors. The second reason is they have very small population. When their population is very small, then automatically breeding will be less. Because of that, they are suffering. Due to excessive habitat fragmentation, they are not able to find the prey. And you know one interesting thing about them, they can eat anything to everything because of their venom glands, which produces loads of toxins. What you have to remember is Komodo dragon, it's present only in the Komodo National Park, which is also considered to be a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The next one is Official Secrets Act. Recently, a journalist from Delhi was arrested under Official Secrets Act because he had given the information about the deployment of Indian troops to China. So that's where he has violated Official Secrets Act. So coming back to the historical background, it was Lord Curzon who introduced this Official Secrets Act. The intention of him introducing is he wanted the nationalists not to know much about the government secrets and the confidential matters so that they can use their policies to curb the Indians and the national movement. Moving further, the government of India accepted this bill in 1923. Why? Because we also wanted the security of the state. Along with that, we didn't wanted the leakage of important information from India. So this act is applicable to all Indian citizens. They might be residing inside India or outside India, including the government servants. Second thing, what you have to importantly remember is there is nowhere the definition of official secrets or what constitutes exactly official secrets is not defined. Then under this act, they have only mentioned the offenses. The first offense is spying. Second thing is communicating the secret information to other people. However, this Official Secrets Act comes in conflict with the very basic law, that is right to information. As you are all well aware, Official Secrets Act tries to make things to be more secretive, confidential, whereas right to information wants to bring in the transparency. It wants to ensure that every individual knows what exactly the government is planning to do. So that's where we wanted to have information about Rafale deal. So remember one thing, whenever there is a conflict between Right to Information Act versus the Official Secrets Act, the winner will be Right to Information Act as per the Supreme Court judgment. The next one is Jammu Kashmir Official Languages Bill 2020. Remember, earlier English and Urdu were the only official languages of Jammu Kashmir. Now, Kashmiri, Dongri and Hindi also is made as official languages. So totally in Jammu Kashmir we have 5 official languages. The next issue is Kakatiya dynasty. So this particular art and culture issue is in news. It's because the Kakati Devi temple was built by Ganapati Deva in the Andhra Pradesh, that is in the region of Dharani Kota in the 30th century. So now this Kakati Devi temple has been modified as abode of the local goddess Balu Sulamma. So remember one thing, Kakatiya dynasty was present in the duration of 12th and 13th century, very famous for their architectural skills. Along with that, Kohinoor diamond was mined by them. The next one is International Day of Peace. It's celebrated every year on 21st September as per the United Nations General Assembly. See, on this 24 hours on 21st September, so we try to ensure there is no violent activities. So we try to maintain the non-violence. Along with that, we also ensure there will be a ceasefire to be maintained. What is the theme of 2020 then? It is shaping peace together. The next issue is World Rhino Day, which will be celebrated every year on September 22nd. So remember, we have 5 different types of rhinoceros. Rhino Day is celebrated as per the guidelines of World Wildlife Fund for Nature. Moving further, when it comes to rhinos, we need to understand which of them are critically endangered, which of them are near threatened, which of them are from vulnerable to extinct status. So remember, Java, Sumatran and black rhinos are under critically endangered category of IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature. Moving further, white rhino is nearly threatened, whereas one-horned rhino, which is present in Assam, Kaziranga National Park, is from vulnerable to extinct. The next one, Brucellosis disease, it's caused by a bacteria. So remember one thing, why it is in news? It's because recently China's government has said that this bacteria has got leaked from a biopharmaceutical company, because of which 3,000 people were infected in China. So how is this disease comes? As per World Health Organization, this disease comes because of drinking of unpasteurized milk. But however, it also comes when you're in direct contact with the infected animals. Infected animals can be a cattle, swine, goat, sheep, dog, or if you drink the contaminated animal product. The symptoms of it, you can get fever, chills, weakness, lethargy, muscle pains and the headache. The next one is World Risk Index provided by United Nations University along with Environment Health Security, Germany University and Bundeswehr organization. So basically, when they are giving this World Risk Index, they will consider 2 factors. One, exposure of a country to the vulnerabilities. What extent a disaster can happen in a country. Second thing is, so if any disaster happens, how vulnerable it is. Does it have the institutional capability to overcome those challenges? That is where the 2 indicators will be used. Moving further, according to the risk index, the highest risk is for Oceania countries, second risk is for Africa, third is for Americas. When it comes to India, it is said it is very poor in performance because it ranks 89 out of 181 countries. We even lack among our neighbors. So we have a poor score of 52.73 because of our poor adaptive capabilities. The next issue is whale mass stranding. As you are all well aware, mass stranding of whales, dolphins, all the crustaceans animals is a common phenomena. It happens as a regular life cycle for them. But however, because of climate change and recent events, as you can see in Australia case, there was almost 450 whales which got stranded in the Tasmania Island, because of which many of them lost their lives also. So this kind of mass stranding can happen because of many reasons. The first reason is increased water pollution. The next one is disorientation. What do I mean by disorientation? As you are all well aware, these animals uses the sonar systems, that is sound systems, for their traveling. Okay, so when they are traveling using their own sound systems, their sound systems may come in interference with the submarine systems that we are using. So because of which there may be a disorientation in their movement. They may miss their track. Then third thing, might be attacked by a bigger animals. So that's where they try to run away. Then they also have a tendency called as follow me, or they try to move towards the shore in order to search for their prey. Moving further, global warming and climate change has added the impact towards this mass stranding. The other important reason is whenever there is abnormalities in the Earth's magnetic field, that may also interfere with this animal's movement. These are the reasons for the mass stranding. Scientists are removing them from the seabed and reorienting them towards their path. The next one is recently there was a death of 300 elephants in Botswana region, that is Okavango Delta region, basically because of cyanobacteria. So we are all well aware cyanobacteria are also called as blue-green algae, which is normally present in soil and water. Earlier, cyanobacteria were not producing neurotoxins, but as per the scientists, recently they've started producing neurotoxins because of the climate change. So whenever there is a climate change, there is increase in the saltation, there is decrease in the rainfall, all this causing eutrophication, because of which there is algal blooms. And these algal blooms are supposed to produce this neurotoxins. So here, one important thing what you have to remember is Botswana is a landlocked country. Then second thing is Okavango Delta region is said to be the world's largest inland delta. Remember this from the mapping perspective. So now we are done with prelim tidbits. Let's move on to the economy section. So the first article of economy is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. This was passed in the year 2016. So before we move further, we have to understand the definition of two important words over here. The one, insolvency, and the second one is bankruptcy. What is insolvency? Insolvency means the person who has taken the loan is not capable of paying back that loan. Bankruptcy is officially declaring that any individual is insolvent. How, when will they declare officially? It's when the court which verifies whether that particular individual is incapable of paying that loan. Bankruptcy is nothing but official declaration of individual to be an insolvent. Then moving further, earlier we had so many laws dealing with the bankruptcy and insolvency, all these things. So that's where we had SAFAR Act, we had debt recovery tribunals, all these things. So we wanted to overcome multiple regulations and multiple laws and have one proper insolvency and bankruptcy code to exit the Chakravyuha problem that Indian companies were facing. So that's where insolvency and bankruptcy code was brought in. With this, we'll be having the following features. The first thing is it will be having insolvency and bankruptcy board. So what is the responsibility of this board? This board will ensure registration of insolvency professionals, the personals who can resolve the insolvents. Then second thing, they can also register the insolvent professional agencies. Third thing, information utilities. So the board regulates all these functions. Moving further, what is the procedure for insolvency? So firstly, when any person fails to pay back his loan or he defaults on his loan payment, then insolvency process has to be started. Earlier, only creditor was supposed to initiate, but now both debtor and creditor can start the insolvency process. Moving further, when they start the process, they go to the adjudicating authority. So when an individual goes for it, then it will be addressed by a debt recovery tribunal. When you have to take the money from an individual, you have to go to the DRT. When a company debt has to be challenged, then in such a case, National Company Law Tribunal will take up that case. Once the adjudicating authority decides this, they will be appointing insolvency professional. So he will study all the loans that is taken up by this particular company. He'll try to find out which all banks he has taken the loans. Then he will set up COC. What is COC? COC is nothing but a committee of creditors. All the creditors who has given to loan to a particular individual or company will be made as part of this committee. So remember, COC is committee of creditors. Then this committee of creditor has to make a resolution plan. What do you mean by resolution? See, they'll try to find out the alternatives or ways how to make this particular company to be sustainable. Can it be made restructured? If it cannot be restructured and if it's not viable, then in such a case, they go for liquidation. So liquidation is nothing but selling of all the properties and the shares. then paying back the money of the shareholders. So remember one thing, if the resolution plan is approved by 66% of votes by the committee on creditors, then only the resolution plan will get approval. Otherwise, it has to go for liquidation. The other condition what you have to remember is, whatever is the resolution plan they are trying to prepare, it should be prepared within 330 days. If the resolution plan is not done within this, then they'll go for liquidation. So now, why is this particular bill is in news? It's because recently Lok Sabha has passed Insolvency Bankruptcy Code Second Amendment Bill. This is just to say that not to initiate any procedures from the March 25. That is, they are giving a relaxation for 6 months. Because of COVID-19, as every economy and every sector has got impacted, so they are trying to give a timeline for revival of the market. The next one is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, which is popularly called as FCRA. Remember one very important thing, this was passed by Indira Gandhi government in the era of Cold War. Why did Indira Gandhi pass this? Because they didn't wanted any foreign fund to influence Indian policy making. So that's where Indira Gandhi passed this law. But however, 2010, there was an amendment made to Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So remember one thing, FCRA is guided by Ministry of Home Affairs. So any individual or the organization, they are permitted to take foreign contribution up to 25,000. So if you are taking any foreign contribution within 25,000, then you need not take the permission of Ministry of Home Affairs. If your contribution is increasing more than 25,000 rupees, then in such a case, you have to get registered with Ministry of Home Affairs. Then this registration will be valid for 5 years. So every 5 years, the registration has to be renewed. So recently, now we have again modified this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Why we have made these changes? It's because we can see over here that from 2010 to 2019, foreign contribution have almost doubled. The second thing is, the purpose for which the contribution is made. For example, they might have contributed for agriculture or environment, but they are using it for religious conversions. So such kind of misuse of the funds is not to be supported. Third thing, they are not getting legally complied with the rules of the government. Last, it can affect the internal security of the country. Because of these reasons, we have gone for Foreign Contribution Amendment Bill 2020. In this bill, first of all, we are trying to prohibit acceptance of foreign contribution by the public servant, election candidate, editor of the newspapers or the journalist, then judges, legislatures either of MPs or MLAs, then the political parties. So all these people are barred from accepting the foreign contribution. The next one, what you have to remember is, once you accept the foreign contribution, you cannot transfer it to the other people. Then third part is, you have to mandatorily make registration by using the Aadhaar. So Aadhaar is made mandatory for FCRO also. Suppose if a person is from foreign nation, then in such a case, he has to give us passport or overseas citizenship of India form. Next one, if any amount is coming from the foreign contribution, then it directly has to go through FCRA account. No other accounts has to be used, and no other transaction also has to be made from this account. Moving further, with respect to the unutilized funds, they have put in certain restrictions. Then the very, very important thing and the issue is about the administration usage. What do I mean by this? Earlier, out of all the foreign contribution, 50% was supposed to be used for administration expenses. This is like a cap. So out of 100 rupees, 50 rupees can be used for administrative expenses. Now they have reduced it drastically to 20%. That is, only 20% can be used for administrative expenses. Then further, whenever there is FCRA regulations or suspension, then in such a case, they have to surrender their registration certificates. So these are the provisions. Let's see what are the issues with respect to the amendment bill. NGOs and civil society organizations plays a dominant role in India. So they are the one who promote grassroots level democracy. Along with that, they are the one who can reach out to the nook and corner of this country. But restricting them can also have a huge impact on the democracy, also along the citizen participation in the governance. Moving further, let's check out the issues. The first one is livelihood of workers. As you are all well aware, there are thousands of people working in the NGOs. So their livelihood will get affected, because now government is trying to use only 20%, because if only 20% is used as administrative expenses, all the salaries would come from here only. Then the second thing is, the social sector initiatives taken up by these NGOs will also get affected. Moving further, many of the NGOs are doing collaborative research, tying up with the startup companies and ensuring bringing the innovations which can transform the life of people. But with this restriction, they may not have enough funds for their research. Moving further, we have to identify dubious NGOs, but it doesn't mean we are not recognizing the diversity of NGOs present in India. It's an act of crime. And the last and most important point is this FCRA amendment is incompatible with United Nations Human Rights Council, because United Nations Human Rights Council says that no law should criminalize or delegitimate the activities in defense of human rights on the account of origin of funding. So what do I mean by say? UNHRC says that if any money is used for protection of human rights, so you should not say it to be decriminalized or it's a wrongful activity only because of origin of fund. So you cannot question them. This is what UNHRC says that. But India being a signatory to this, FCRA is violation of this provision. The next one is very popular Essential Commodities Amendment Bill. So first of all, we have to understand the origin of this bill. So when India got independence, at that point of time, we had severe shortage of food. We didn't have enough food to eat. That's where, so we had something called a shipped to mouth. That is, we used to import the food for us from USA and we used to have them. So when in such a scenario, whatever production was happening, it was for a subsistence. So that's where we wanted to have a stock so that we don't face a crisis. So that's where Essential Commodities Act of 1955 was passed. With this act, we wanted to curb the inflation which was happening. Second thing, we want to categorize certain things which is very basic requirement of individuals as essentials and maintain the buffer of it or the stock of it. Then with this, we also wanted to discourage the hoarding. But remember one thing, when was this Essential Commodity Act was passed? It was in 1955 when India had severe shortages of the food. But what is the current scenario with respect to agriculture food production in India? We are the surplus food producers. So we are one of the largest food producers across the world. But whatever we are producing, we are not able to store it because we do not have cold storage facilities or the post-harvesting facilities, because of which many of our food products are getting wasted. So this is why the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020 was passed, because it tries to remove the commodities that like cereals, pulses, oil seeds, edible oil seeds, onion, potato from the essential commodities list. Second thing, it removes the excessive regulation on private players that was imposed. Then there will be no restriction on the stock limit. Unless and until there is a crisis, the food stuff will not be regulated. So when there is a crisis like war or external calamity or natural disasters, then the government will maintain the stock as well as the prices. So here, one more important thing what we have to observe is, this is said to be a positive move. As per Economic Survey 2019-20, that Essential Commodities Act was trying to distort the agriculture trade. So that's where farmers were not able to realize their incomes. Then it was a rent-seeking attitude by the government and it's kind of an harassment. Moving further, because of which the farmers could not realize the better prices for their produce. So now we are hoping with this Essential Commodities Bill, the regulation is limited. There will be more and more income to the farmers, more investments in the cold storage and the food processing sector, reduce the wastage of food. And one of the biggest fear is, will it again lead to hoarding and black marketing? Will it again lead to the price increasing? Will it again affect the consumer? So this we have to wait and watch. The next important issue is BASEL III bonds. See, recently State Bank of India has raised almost 7,000 crore with the BASEL III bonds. So here, before we understand BASEL III, we need to also understand one important provision, that is call back option. What do we mean by call back? See, now State Bank of India has issued bonds. So by issuing the bonds, it has taken the funds from the market. So this bonds will stay with the customers till the maturity period. Suppose if the SBI wants to buy the the bonds before the maturity period, then that is called as call back option. Then moving further, what do you mean by BASEL? BASEL is nothing but a set of guidelines or a supervisory standards which are given by a group of central banks. See, as we have RBI in India, similarly across the world, different central banks come together and they have established BASEL Committee on Banking Supervision, or which is also popularly called as BASEL Accord. So remember one thing, the purpose of this accord is to ensure that whenever there is unexpected loss, whenever there is a turbulence, then in such a case, the central banks and financial institutions are resilient enough to withstand the losses. So that's where BASEL I came into the picture. BASEL I came in the year 1988. As per this, so credit risk or risk-weighted asset of 8% has to be maintained. Then BASEL II came up in 2004. In this, mandatorily we made that capital adequacy requirement of around 8%. Means whatever is your total risk asset, out of that 8% you have to keep it so that you can manage the losses. Then it also recognized three new kind of risk, that is operational risk. So whenever you're trying to implement something because of NPA or something, you may face the risk. Second thing, credit risk. It may be because of liquidity in the market. Third thing, market risk. It may be because of recession or depression in the economy. And third thing, risk exposure disclosure, that every banks, it has been made mandatory that they should disclose how much of their assets are in the risk category, are in the category which may not be paid back. Moving further, in 2010, BASEL III norms came into the picture. In this, they are making the bank and financial institutions to be more capital intensive, and they want to make it more resilient also. That's where they're focusing on capital, leverage, funding and the liquidity. So now SBI, abiding by the BASEL III norms, has raised almost 7,000 crore from the market. The next important polity issue is hate speech. Recently, as you are all well aware, there was a injunction order against the Sudarshan news channel. So why? It's because they had offended the rights of the religious communities. So that's where the Supreme Court now has to clarify what is offensive speech and what is hate speech. Because there is no, these two words are too vague. There is no proper definition for it. Sometimes offensive speech is also considered as a hate speech, and they're trying to criminalize or curtail the freedom of speech and expression. So that's where Supreme Court has to consider the definition of Jeremy Waldron. This definition is abiding, or it's according to the provisions of Indian Constitution, because in that definition it's aligned with the preamble, liberty, equality and fraternity and dignity of the individuals. So, what is this hate speech? Hate speech means utterances or whatever we are using that is trying to incite violence, that is promoting the violence, hatredness or discrimination against the people. And very, very important thing is it's acting against their collective identity. So what is our collective identity? It may be a gender, it may be our religion, our ethnicity, sexuality or the race. Simple words, any speech which incites violence, we can call it as hate speech. With hate speech, it violates the two cardinal principles of our constitution, that is dignity of all and the inclusiveness of the society, because it discriminates the individuals. So thus the definition what we have discussed with respect to the hate speech is aligning with our liberty, equality and fraternity, and Article 19 which provides for freedom of speech and expression. So remember one thing here. So we are trying to restrict the freedom of speech and expression on the grounds of public order and morality. But what do you mean by morality over here? So is it morality of the society or is it morality of the constitution? Because as per the morality of society, we didn't want to give entrance to women in Shabarimala case. But as per the constitutional morality, we wanted to give entry to the women. So that's where understand this. This morality doesn't mean the societal morality. It means constitutional morality. So restriction in the name of this morality as a hate speech is condemnable, and so that's where Supreme Court has to clearly delineate between the hate speech and the offensive speech. These are the IPC provisions which is punishing the hate speeches. The first one is 153A, which says that promoting enmity between the different groups on the grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, etc. are considered to be prejudicial to the maintenance of harmony. So that is one clause. The second clause is IPC 295A. So deliberate intention or malicious acts intended to outrage religious feelings. You're trying to hurt the religious feeling of someone, then in such a case, it's considered to be an hate speech. The next important article under the polity section is female leadership in politics. So, as per this article, women of Germany, Taiwan and New Zealand have performed very well and they've handled the crisis of COVID-19 in a much better way compared to their neighbors. This is also a case in USA where the states which is ruled by the female governors have performed very well and the number of deaths are very less in these states compared to the other states which are ruled by the men. So this article tried to make a point that it is necessary we get out of the bias about the woman's capability and the perceptions about the effectiveness of women in the role of authority. So whatever prejudice we have about the woman's efficiency in administration has to be taken away is the point of this author. Moving further, why do we need female leadership? Firstly, we want democratic representation. What do I mean by that? We have almost 49% of women population, but still we have only 10% of women representation in India. Then second thing, women will also ensure new perspectives in the political landscape. They bring in harmonious development in the nation. Say if I have to give an example, United Kingdom's first special envoy for gender equality was Rona Jopar. So whenever she went to a peace negotiations, it was quite successful and she always made a strong evidence which benefits everyone. I could deal with the more win-win situation. Next one, women can implement the policies which are more promoting the women interest. Example, we can take a case study of Esther Duflo, as per which whenever a village was headed by women, then in such a case, they tried to focus more on the needs of the rural infrastructure. Example, providing the drinking water. Then we can also consider the example of Bangladesh, how women's leadership could make such a real difference in lives of women on the ground. Moving further, as per National Bureau of Economic Research, there is a strong connection between women preservation and the entrepreneurship among the women. Moving further, if not so anything, for ensuring gender equality, we have to have more female leadership. So when it comes to India, so in 2019 election, so for the first time we had highest number of women getting selected for the Lok Sabha elections. Then we have around almost 14% of women in the Lok Sabha currently and 10% of women occupy the ministerial positions. And we have only one female chief minister, that is Mamata Banerjee. Moving further, India's ranking with respect to Inter-Parliamentary Union shows India is at 143 compared to 192 because of the dismal performance with respect to the female leadership. So what is a better solution? So as we are all well aware, India very long back in the year of 1996, H.D. Devegowda had introduced Women Reservation Bill. So even though this Women Reservation Bill was passed by Rajya Sabha in the way back 2010, it is not passed by the Lok Sabha and the state legislature because this bill will give reservation of 1/3 post for women in the parliament and the state legislature. So first of all, at least after 24 years, our incapability to pass this bill shows our gender prejudice with respect to women handling the important roles. The next important article is Mega Virtual Summit on Artificial Intelligence. So before we move on further, we need to understand what is artificial intelligence. So those activities which require human intelligence can now be done by the machines with the intelligence of data. So data will act as the intelligent. Examples can be machine learning, neural networks, a self-algorithm, etc. The best example would be whenever you open your Facebook account, you can see suggested friends or Google self-driven car. All are examples of artificial intelligence. So recently, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology along with Niti Aayog has hosted this summit. The main objective of this summit is RAISE 2020. So what do I mean by RAISE? It is responsible artificial intelligence. What is that responsible? Because whenever we are trying to give data and machine is working on the data, if at all data is misused or if the data is manipulated, then it causes the greatest disaster. So it may be a deep fakes or a cyber crimes or a social manipulation. Anything to everything can happen. So that's where we want artificial intelligence which is more responsible for social empowerment. We need to say we want to bring in the social transformation in various sectors like health, agriculture, education, etc. In every sector, we want to bring in transformation so that we can make it more inclusive. So in this summit, there is participation of global industry leaders, academicians, government representatives, etc. Before we move further, we need to understand one important thing with respect to artificial intelligence. AI almost by 2035 can contribute around 957 billion US dollars to India. So government of India is very ambitious with respect to artificial intelligence. That's why as like housing for all, it is suggested artificial intelligence for all. Under this, they have also developed national artificial intelligence strategy and they've also developed national AI portal. India recently also has joined Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. See, and also is a founding member over there. So in this program, in this forum, they want to make artificial intelligence to be more responsible and human-centric in nature. Let's move on to the next issue, Science and Technology Indicators 2019-2020. So this particular report, that is Science and Technology Indicators report, is released by Department of Science and Technology. As per the report, India is at the dismal performance with respect to science and technology. Say for example, if we have to consider with respect to the patents, from last 13 years, only 25% of the claim is made by Indians. So as per the WIPO rankings, India stands at 7th position with respect to the patents claim. So that is what is the dismal performance of India in the STEM sector and the patents. So why is that we are performing low? It's because we are not making enough investment in the research and development. The second reason is pathetic higher education institutions. See, in higher education institutions, we are making it more as a degree course rather than an innovation hub. So we have to transform them. The third thing is we do not have the necessary skill set, employees or the personals. Moving further, there is no funds for any innovation or incubation and does not have conducive environment for this activity. So that's where they're trying to suggest that we have to make more and more investment into the R&D sector. We have to make higher education to be more innovation. Then we should integrate national labs with the higher education institutions so that any innovation in the lab will be learned by the institutions, then strengthening those institutions, upskilling all the employees who are present in the sector, increasing more and more private participation. Once there is a private participation, then we can ensure there is inflow of the funds, inflow of the new employees on whom the private companies will be making investments. The next issue is Plastic Park Scheme. This scheme is approved by Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. So what do we mean by plastic park? It means a cluster of plastic industries or zone which is established for promotion of plastic enterprises and the allied industries. Here, what we have to remember is in India, even though we have large number of units which are manufacturing the plastic, but still because of their fragmented nature, we are making the lowest trade, that is 1% in the global supply chain of plastics. So what we have to do when it comes to the petrochemical supply chain, there are two streams. One is upstream, the second one is downstream. What is upstream? In upstreams means we are trying to manufacture the polymers. What is downstream? Whatever polymers that is manufactured, we are converting them into the usable product. Okay, so but India is very good with respect to the upstream sector, but India is not up to the mark with respect to downstreaming. That is, even though we are producing more polymers, we are not converting them into products. That's where we are not able to realize and make trade out of it. So that's where in the plastic park scheme, we are trying to go for a demand driven cluster based approach, wherein we are trying to promote the competition, increase the polymer absorption capacity, promote downstream petrochemical supply chain with modern technology. For implementation of this plastic parks, we have a separate special purpose vehicle which will ensure the plastic parks will be established within 3 years. The next issue that we are going to discuss is about net neutrality. So why is this particularly news? It's because Telecom Regulatory Authority, which is popularly called as TRAI, has recommended for establishment of MSB. What is MSB? MSB is multi-stakeholder body. This will ensure there will be a net neutrality in our system. Moving further, first of all, we have to understand what do we mean by net neutrality. The first thing is internet service provider or internet access provider should provide access to all the content that is available in the web and all the application regardless of the source. Means we are trying to say that you are not supposed to block any legal content of your choice. Then there is no throttling, that is no legal threat for them. Then no paid prioritization. Simply, we are trying to say ensuring equality with respect to web content and the applications. So with this, what are the positives that we can expect? With this, there can be democratization in the internet space. That is, it may be a small one or a big company. Everyone have equal share and access to the content. Second thing, earlier these internet service providers or internet access providers, we used to act as a gatekeepers. So the one who is rich, the one who is paying a paid advertisements for them, so they used to promote them. The small companies which are newly established were not promoted. That's where the discrimination used to happen. So now they are going to stop this kind of discrimination. Third thing, it's providing a level playing field for all the people. Fourth one, with equal access, we can also ensure there is freedom of speech in terms of net neutrality. So what are the arguments against net neutrality? First of all, it stifles innovation. It takes away the innovation. Then it also tries to stifle the consumer choices. Suppose if consumer wanted a better choices based on the ratings or reviews, that cannot be made now. Moving further, since internet service provider will not have a paid priorities programs or advertisements, he will not have any investments or money to make the investments. With this, broadband supply chain will get affected. Moving further, it also kills the competition. Equality is considered to be the much more priority compared to the negatives of it. So that's where TRI is considered for or suggested for multi-stakeholder body consisting of all the telecom players, internet service providers, academicians, researchers, everyone as part of this body, so that they will advise and support Department of Telecommunications with respect to the policies of net neutrality. Second thing, they will also take up the complaints with respect to the violation of net neutrality. Third thing, they will act as a repository, as a knowledge holder of various traffic management practices. The next issue is very popular one, stubble burning and Delhi pollution case. So when this case came up in front of Supreme Court has set up Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. So this authority has been established under the provisions of Environment Protection Act. So before we move further, let's try to understand what does this menace. So first of all, what is stubble burning? It's burning of the rice chaff or the burning of crop residue. So here what you have to remember is almost 9.8 million tons of crop residue is burnt in Punjab and 7 million tons is burnt in Haryana. So you can see the impact of it. Why it is being burnt? It's because it's a traditional practice of these people to remove all the waste so that they can go for next cultivation. Then why are we burning? The first reason is there is increase in the rice acreage. Why are we growing more rice? It's because we are providing MSP support for it. Then second reason, delayed sowing. What do you mean by delayed sowing? See, as per Punjab preservation of subsoil water, because Punjab wants to save the groundwater, they will discourage cultivation of paddy till the monsoon season. So when by the time they start the sowing all these things, the retrieval of monsoon starts, and at that time the jet streams will also shift down, because of which many of the pollutants burnt will get traveled to the other parts of India. Then third thing, technology has not favored them because it is leading to more crop residue. Then the last reason why it cannot be used as a fodder, because of high silica content. Having understood what is stubble burning, what are the reasons of burning, let's understand what are the harmful impacts of it. So moving further, the stubble burning will lead to the emission of toxic pollutants like methane, carbon dioxide, volatile organic compounds, carcinogenic and particulate matters. With this, there will be also a decrease in the soil fertility. As you are all well aware, so when this particular crop residues are burnt, that particular moisture and microbes will be lost, because of which soil texture will also get spoiled. Then moving further, with overall, there will be an increase in the environment pollution level. So how can we stop this? We can have a control room so that they stop the kind of stubble burning. Moving further, we can also have farm machinery banks. See, what they can do is they will take up all the crop residue and they will process it with the machines. Then THS, turbo happy seeder machine. So this is said to be the most efficient methodology for containing the stubble burning. In this, basically, when they are uprooting the the stubble and all, at the same time they'll put the seeds. With this, what they will try to do, whatever is the extra crop residue, they will do a mulching of it. With this, you can also ensure mulch cover also. Along with that, the sowing of next period will also be completed. The next one, we try to use SAFAR system for measuring the air pollution level. So SAFAR stands for System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research. So which is deployed by Ministry of Earth Sciences. They basically use the INSAT communication satellites to find out the pollution of different cities. Moving further, as you are all well aware, Environment Pollution Control Authority has been established under Section 3 of Environment Protection Act. They can take up complaint by suo motu or from the complaints of any individuals, and they will ensure control of vehicular pollution. They will ensure Euro norms will be followed. Along with that, they also strategically plan and manage the pollution levels. In this video series, we have not discussed two more important issues. The one, labor reforms. As you know, recently 3 labor codes have been passed, and agriculture bills. So these two issues are very, very important for your prelims as well as mains and the interview. That's why we are recording a trending topic of these videos. And you can expect this video on labor reforms on Monday and video on agriculture bills on Tuesday. Going further, one more information is with respect to the World Bank loan conditionality. So World Bank has given India $1 billion as a loan. But the condition is this: whatever India is trying to procure, that is buying, it should buy with the conditionality of universal eligibility. What do I mean by that? Many of the government schemes or many of the government procurements, they have a condition that at least 30% or 40% has to be taken from MSMEs, the companies owned by SCs, STs and public sector undertakings and the startup. So now what World Bank is trying to say is, when India procures by using this amount, then it has to buy across the world from different companies. They should not go for domestic content requirement or domestic production mandatory norms. So that's where it's kind of a negative for our Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan along with our Make in India project. Hope this video was useful to you. Thank you. All the best for your preparation.